America banned onion futures. Oil is fine. Wheat is fine. Gold is fine. Orange juice is fine. Onions? Absolutely not. Not because onions exploded. Because in the 1950s, two men found the steering wheel. Vincent Kosuga grew onions. Sam Siegel moved produce. A futures contract is supposed to be boring. Onions later. Price now. Farmers use it to sleep. Buyers use it to plan. Then Kosuga and Siegel started buying. Not a normal amount. A cartoon villain amount. By late 1955, Chicago's deliverable onions were basically theirs. If you needed onions, you had to notice them. That can push prices up. Then they flipped the room. They sold futures. They kept onions ready. They let the market smell the pile. Then carloads started moving. Cold storage onions. Rebagged onions. Onions no one wanted to hug. The March 1956 future fell hard. On March 15th, it hit 10 cents. The lowest price the exchange had seen. Farmers did not laugh. Congress did not laugh. On August 28, 1958, America wrote the weird rule. No onion futures. Corn. Fine. Wheat. Fine. Onions? Absolutely not. That is the joke. The serious part is smaller. A market is promises stacked on trust. If one trader grabs the steering wheel, everyone rides in the cargo. So yes, the onion is still in the law book. A tiny round warning label. Do not let the clever guy drive the pantry. That was the short version. The long version is worse. Because this was not a vegetable tantrum. It was a market learning accident with a smell. Start with a normal farmer. Onions are not gold bars. They do not sit quietly forever. They rot. They freeze. They sprout. They make warehouses smell guilty. A farmer wants a price before soup. A buyer wants later onions without panic. So futures are little promises. A normal promise says, I will deliver onions later. You pay this price now. It is not supposed to be a magic wand. It is supposed to be a seatbelt. Then the seatbelt met Vincent Kosuga. Kosuga was not a Wall Street ghost. He grew onions in Pine Island. He knew the vegetable. He knew the storage game. He also knew the exchange rules. Sam Siegel knew produce distribution. Together, they had something better than a theory. Actual onions. In November 1955, Kosuga took delivery on a huge pile. Not a grocery cart pile. A railcar pile. Kosuga and Siegel's side held hundreds of carloads in Chicago. The official finding said they held nearly the deliverable Chicago supply. That is a market with one exit. Everyone could see the pile. And once everyone sees the pile, they start guessing what the pile will do. If the pile stays hidden, prices can float. If the pile threatens to arrive, prices duck. So the first trick was support. Kosuga and Siegel made a deal with grower shippers. They sold 287 carloads. And the important part was quieter. The buyers took onions away from delivery. The rest stayed off the exchange. That can make a shortage look cleaner. Prices get a little taller. The room relaxes. Then comes the ugly part. A squeeze can become a trapdoor. By early 1956, the position changed. Kosuga and Siegel were short March onion futures. Short means you benefit if the price falls. So now the pile had a new job. Stop being rare. Start being terrifying. Some onions were cold storage onions. Some were getting worse. Some were shipped out to be reworked. That means sorting, cleaning, and rebagging the survivors. Then some came back to Chicago. The market stared at an onion mountain. Nobody wanted the smelly bag. Prices began to slide. Then slide harder. On February 28th, the March future closed at 80 cents. On March 2nd, 58 cents. March 5th, 44 cents. On March 15th, 10 cents. That is not a market correction. That is a cartoon piano falling onto a farm. The decision called the prices artificial, not real supply and demand, which is legal language for. The steering wheel got grabbed, and farmers were standing in the cargo bed. The exchange had a problem, because futures markets sell one invisible product. Trust. Not onions. Not wheat. Trust that the game is not secretly one guy with a warehouse. Once that joke lands, the law starts making sense. Congress did not write, please be nicer with onions. Congress wrote a ban. On August 28, 1958, onion futures became illegal. Not temporarily embarrassed. Illegal. And the onion stayed there. Today the law still singles it out. Oil can trade. Corn can trade. Wheat can trade. Onions stand outside like they wore sneakers to a wedding. The wound was strangely specific. Most scandals get serious names. This one left a vegetable-shaped dent. And that makes it easier to remember. Markets are not magic. They are group agreements with forklifts. When they work, boring people sleep. When they break, Congress starts writing vegetables into law. This is not just about onions. It is about who finds the steering wheel first. Every system has one. The clever guy. The quiet warehouse. The rule nobody noticed. And the moment everyone realizes, the door was locked from inside. They did not invent greed. They found an onion-shaped loophole, then drove a truck through it. A few years later, the loophole got filled with law. The 1960 government decision still reads like a warehouse tour. Car lots, cold storage, reworking, deliveries, a paperwork and onion avalanche. That is what charts hide. The boring details are where the hinge is. Who controls the warehouse? Who knows the pile is getting worse? Who can move first? Who is already holding the other side of the bet? If those answers all point to one person, the market is not a market. It is a pantry with an owner, and everybody else is shopping. That is the warning label. Not, onions are dangerous. Not, futures are evil. The warning is, concentrated control makes normal tools weird. A futures contract is a seatbelt. Unless the driver owns the road, then the seatbelt is decoration. So the onion ban is funny, but it is also honest. It says, we tried this. The vegetable won. The market lost. And Congress put the onion in permanent timeout, which is a ridiculous sentence and a pretty good law school flashcard. So if you ever see a tiny exception in a giant rulebook, do not skip it. That is where the story is usually hiding. Somewhere under the paperwork, there is probably a person near a warehouse and one smug little steering wheel.